And a great big hey to all my goofy goobers out there. Welcome back to Animanic Commentaries with Comic Auzi and my darling Doe DF. Hello, honey, sitting there in the corner all cute. Where we'll talk about pretty much any piece of media as long as it's animated. Which, well, my honey buddy's gonna have to be talking through me, considering that she threw out her voice just a little while ago today. You know, things will do that. Anyway, so tonight we're going to be watching, well, the Disney animated cult classic, The Black Cauldron. Now, my darling does have some things to say about this movie. So, I'll just read this as best I can. 1980s were a weird time for animation, and the media in general, actually. Everything was either super dark or super campy. Hard to find a middle ground. While The Black Cauldron is considered one of the weaker Disney films, I was never bored with it as a kid. I guess the dark elements were enough to enrapture me. Also, the one Disney princess who deserves to be considered a Disney princess. Obviously, by the 90s, people found a middle ground between dark and campy, and despite what people say about this film, they can agree that it has Disney's scariest villain. Yeah, that is definitely true. I mean, he may not be the most well-developed, but sometimes all we need for a story is a villain that is straight up evil for evil's sake, for the sake of being evil. And that's what she has to say. Oh yes, and Tim Burton also worked on this film before quitting Disney. Squad, we'll get there. Hush now, Squad. Hush now. But yeah, no. This film is definitely the darker of the Disney films. And for a good reason. This one does get pretty extra. And if you didn't read the post that leads up before this stream, something I mentioned is that this film would have, at least for me, having watched it at least once, this film would have been interesting if Katzenberg hadn't censored it to hell and back. And because of how animation works, he basically just hacked up the movie. Like, there are significant portions when the darkest shit is happening that are just, like, hacked to hell and back. And you can kind of feel it. You can kind of feel it just a little bit. I think only one in competition for darkest is... I think the only one in competition for darkest is Hunchback. Yeah, honey, I think that would be the case. I hope this voice doesn't get too grating. Gotta make sure I don't die, first and foremost. I was doing Cat Yzma voices for, like, the finale of Postionomics, so did put a little strain on me there. Blue Heart says he even cut important moments for the characters. Well, that's the thing. Katzenberg's an idiot. He doesn't know what's needed for a story. He really needs other people to be in charge of that shit for him. Because when he tries to take control, movies turn out pretty piss poor when it comes to characters. That's the thing. This is the same guy who wanted to cut part of your world out, so yeah, exactly. When it comes to cutting out important character moments, look no further than Katzenberg. So yeah, not really. No, that's the thing, writer. You don't edit an animated movie. You animate an animated movie. Editing is kind of a superfluous job in regards to an animated motion picture. Whole scenes for animated films would get cut before animation was done on them. That's how it works in animation. It doesn't always work out that way, which is why some deleted scenes for animated films will have, like, half-finished animations or pencil sketches. and only portions of a scene will not be finished, and the full version will have some of the finished animation from what was an edited version of that scene. It's like, yeah, it's yeah, Blueheart, that's exactly the story I'm going based off of. It's like Katzenberg was very, very trigger happy with the cut. It's like, your scene's getting cut, and your scene's getting cut. But I think that's enough preamble. This movie should be on Disney Plus. I don't think it would have a warning because there's nothing necessarily racist in it. Actually, I don't think there's anything racist in it. Not that I can think of. So, it's up on Disney Plus. Just nightmares. Alright, so everybody get your copy ready and let's begin it in 3, 2, 1, go. I didn't check for my copy. Okay, the thing is, I think this actually might legitimately be in front of the movie overall. Like, I think this may be our first real instance of the classic 80s, 90s Disney logo. Yeah, that seemed too perfect. I think that is correct. Ooh.
You know, this movie might explain how I write my fantasy stories.
This opening is great. And the thing is, this kind of shit, who narrates? I'm not sure. Not sure, honey. I'm not sure who narrates. The composer's the same guy who did Ghostbusters. Honestly, not a bad choice.
Sounds familiar, but I can't pinpoint it.
Oh, the multiplane camera. Oh god, that's gorgeous. The multiplane camera. That squirrel. If not the same animation, definitely the same design as. Ooh. It's just. She said it. Agreed. Idiot boy. You know, I can definitely see his frustration. You know, for an 80s movie, the voices of the characters all sound like they're proper 80s movies.
People complain about Taran, but he's pretty much what a teenage boy is. He wants to be a man at war, but doesn't understand what that means.
Yeah, he's very much short-sighted about that. That pig is adorable, by the way. Henwin is adorable.
I always love that pig.
Pig is cute. Not as cute as you. It's a pretty cute piggy, though. He could be. This little hothead needs some humbling. Those geese are definitely taking from the Disney character design library. Like, they're recycling designs, if nothing else. Seriously, guys, look at this movie. Disney has had a particular aesthetic, but this movie clearly informs a lot of their aesthetic going forward. Like, this movie. You know, it's all fun and games until you really get stabbed in the liver, kid. The way they're drawing the mud here is really good. Give it to the effects animators. Pretty piggy. Aww. But for a little piglet like that, she's cute. Again, loving the designs and animation here. Like, this is what Disney movies look like going forward. Like, if nothing else, this film... She knows something. Dalvin, know what up. So far, I'm pretty interested. Which is why I haven't revealed it to you up till now, because you would have given it away to somebody. You loudmouth little shit. The magic future-telling pig. Now that comes directly from Fantasia. Love the way there. Huh. Yeah. Oof. Seeing some cellular drop shadow in quite a few shots here. There's one. I think of how many of the 90s Disney protagonists have the particularly kind eyes that Taryn has. It's a bit delayed on your end. How it kicks itself. Never wanted this for young Tyron. And now they're stealing from Maleficent's homework.
He's gonna learn the hard way.
He is.
Why did I always like these slow-moving fantasies?
Well, let's be fair. There's something about the 80s fantasy movie with its spooky vibes that has like, oh god, is he gonna?
Here he is, the guy who always gave me nightmares.
Good reason. This beast. So like drop shadow and good effects animation. Oh god, that voice. Oh boy. Oh god. Oh boy. Hey Scribe, if you got IMDb on, do you think you could check us who the narrator was at the opening? Sir John Hurt indeed. No, I mean the narrator. The narrator at the front of the movie. Children probably, yeah. Run screaming. John Huston. Ah, thank you. I think I have the live chat on. Still a little bit of a hothead. Kid still doesn't know what's coming for him. You. Well, you see what happens when you don't take your responsibility seriously? Perhaps you'll learn a lesson in all this.
You had one job!
Actually, I think Gurgi here also influences a lot of Disney character design. Not voice, though. What teenage boy hasn't had a moment like this? And teenagers in general act, you know, honey. Oh! Clever little thing. Woof. That voice. Animation on the character is great, though. God. Just a different voice. Well, we'll get to the end of the movie when we get to the end of the movie.
But yeah, whoever hates on Gurgi forgets what he did in the end.
I'm sure the book made clear what kind of creature he was. Oof. God, that voice. At least Gurgi is smart enough to know when to stay away from trouble. How true is that about, like... I mean, this movie was 1985. Where does the timeline meet on Legend of Zelda happening? Oh, God. Honestly, that's a really nice beastie design. Damn. Yeah, I don't think this film would have inspired Zelda then. Because, like... If you say you saw Blood Squad, you definitely saw blood. This movie was originally going for a PG-13. And they had that rating. And then they all chickened out of it. And Katzenberg cut it down to Heckenbeck. Aww. Someone's got his responsibilities in order. Sometimes foreshadowing is fairly obvious. Ouch. Good lord. Well, Squad, Taran was only calling him a coward because of, you know, his attitude. Ah, I guess a lot of his gardening work was provided by Maleficent's castle. They did. Yeah, honey, they did go all out on the backgrounds and scenery. This is really... It's a far cry from our beautiful clearing in the meadow. Or even the edge of the Forbidden Forest. Oh, it is just a normal guy. I was gonna be like, this is a Cyclops or something. Nope. That was some nice... Movie got jump scare. Hello, welcome to Mickey Mouse's Pizza, where fantasy and fun come to life. Okay, see that little goblin there with the purple hood has a much better voice than Gurgi. Oh, hell. And gee, I wonder, maybe there should be a warning on Disney Plus for those characters. I mean, I get this is supposed to be, might be culturally inaccurate, honey. The wires are being crossed so thoroughly. Oh, and then the drunkenness and debauchery ends as soon as the boss walks it. The boss strolls in. Or rather, teleports in. Right? Ooh, boy. According to what someone else in the chat said earlier, the other scene was supposed to be seen... The scene we saw earlier was supposed to come later. Yeah, that guy has a much more tolerable voice. He's kind of like the anti-Gurgi. He's incredibly evil, and his voice doesn't make you want to tear your ears off. Yeah, I can turn it up a little bit. But you can turn it up on your end, too. I don't want my ears to die. Smart piggy. It's like the... They could have... Yeah, they could have given this movie a subtitle. Underrated villain sidekick? Yeah, honey. They could have given this movie a subtitle. The Black Cauldron. Taran's an idiot. This kid just keeps getting himself into trouble. Oh, God. His face being ensconced in shadow, yeah, is great, honey. I love it too. They're gonna have a Christmas ham. The Horn King doesn't have to do a lot. His whole figure is intimidating. Ooh. Creeping into the light. Oh, God. Horn King got impatient. Ah, I realized that I had things turned down on my end. You probably don't want to stay away from the butcher. Oof. Dragon's Lair, the Lost Rooms. Make forth the admirable effort that this kid is doing his best to try to save the pig. As he was instructed to do. He's doing his best. Oof. The designs are great. It's like we have our friendly Disney old man and Taran and the pig, and then we have these hideous cutthroats and the creeper and the Horn King himself, and they're all just the ugliest motherfuckers. But it's great. Well, there's our humbling moment. He really didn't know what war meant until now. Imprisonment. And... hello. Looks like Zelda's following Navi this time. Not so much a fairy as just a little magic orb. Learn something about being humble. Such a strange boy. I don't think she believes him. Hey. Again, in stealing from Disney's previous designs, these rats look like the rat from Lady and the Tramp. She is late. Could be. Ellenry does appear to be leading this escape. Yeah. The little face he made at her. To be fair, he's still Terran. Foolhardy lad extraordinaire. The actress voiced Princess Sylvia in the original Muzzy tapes. I don't know Muzzy. I'm not familiar with Muzzy. You'd pray that it's still in good condition.
It was a BBC language learning program. She was from the English version. Ah, alright.
Yeah. The late Wayne Alwyn, God rest his soul. One of the longest running voice actors for Mickey Mouse, actually. I'll give him that.
Grave robbing is a crime, Taryn!
Give him some credit. He may not know what he's doing with it, but he's... And here's the bard. Oh boy. Yeah. I was gonna say, honey, he does sound a lot like Jane's father in Tarzan. When you started mentioning that. Ivan Blueheart said so. I can't be reading everything. Can you say that? What does scut mean? That sounds a little nasty. Well. Now that is some lucky draw, getting a magic sword on the first try. Like, thank you, squad. I mean, it is another way of calling him worthless. I picked up on that, but like... And the overconfidence is back. Just because your sword is magical. Well, it seems to be working wonders for you so far. Fluter. kid just got a new toy and he's just having a ball. Run! Run, my lad! Recycle that animation! Oh. Well, what are you gonna do? I think that dog's the only one trying to make pursuit of anyone right now. Everyone's just so gobsmacked. He only just found out about it. Give him a break. It looks like some of the painting on the celluloid was a bit of a rust job, because some of it's been a little splotchy in some areas. That was a line I always saw in the trailers. Like, always get blamed for these things. I do wonder what happened to the poor creeper's other eye. It could be that he made the Horn King mad and he just popped it out. Oh boy. I've only watched this movie once, Blue Heart, so. I love how we don't need to see his face to be scared. I know, honey. And, like... I was thinking that's what he was referring to when he said Gwithins. It's like he doesn't have his undead army yet, and he can't possibly mean the band of cutthroats in the basements, drinking all his booze. It's like his little... The harp is a lie detector. It seems to be the case, honey. You didn't The your dialogue's being cut. You can clearly see the pieces. You can clearly see the pieces of bits where he was supposedly being the voice of reason, but like you're saying there, Blue Heart, a lot of the dialogue is very clearly being cut, like animation being stopped before it even starts. Like, he didn't say that. He didn't even say you were going to work to you had to work together. They cut that line. There is probably a better version of this movie with the stuff with everything that was cut being put back in. Yeah, it certainly doesn't help. Just give him the harp. That'll work. Right? I feel like that harp is always working against Fluter to just keep him humble. Uh-oh. That wouldn't... I mean, it's Disney animation. If it weren't animated well, I'd be concerned. Oh, down they go. Do finish that thought, Scribe, if you would. And here are these fairies looking like some Disney characters. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Hmm. Yeah, boy. They do seem like they belong in a Bluth film. I feel like if these fairies were in a Don Bluth film, the chubby little fat one over here would be voiced by Dom DeLuise. The scribe says, there was a battle between experienced and new animators. Newer animators were ambitious, wanting to create a movie like early Disney, while the older ones felt the newer ones were being spoiled brats and to just do what they were told. Well, no wonder half of them left with Bluth. Hmm. Hmm. Is it maybe a bit much for one movie? Like, no, a reunion. I mean, he's not wrong. I do like Dolly. Dolly's pretty fun here. I like his I love grumpy little guys, you know? Just curmudgeonly little men. And that's Dolby. Like, and he's not a dwarf, he's even smaller. So it makes him even funnier, and I love his design is great. Oh, yes. Well, if they don't like the Horned King, then I guess they have at least some reason to trust them. After all, fairies wouldn't be hiding underground by choice. Which I guess is probably a reason why they would have changed it from dwarfs to fairies, because dwarfs would at least have, like, a, you know, business and trade. Man, that's some intense celluloid drop shadow on that last shot. And there's some drop shadow there. Ouch. Ooh. Dolly also voices Gurgi. I can hear a bit of a similarity between the two. Ooh, there's little critters in the rafters. Dolly's still with them, huh? There's all sorts of little eyeballs just floating around here. That's probably what they were. Ooh. Oh no, the Sanders sisters! Oh, good lord. Oh. She's a little pushy. Oh god. Remember, this movie was going for a PG-13. Oh god. That's hilarious. And well animated too. All ironies though.
What they don't tell you is that these witches raised Dobbin, which explains so much.
Yeah. That sword's just going nuts. feel like feels like more might have been cut from this scene, but honestly, it's kind of hard to tell. Give him some credit. Dolby's still there. He keeps saying Great Beelan. This is something about the lore from the book, and I don't know. They cut the scene where they attempted to destroy the cauldron. Well, considering everything that just happened, I don't think they necessarily need that. Still, I mean, Fluter Flam keeps saying Great Balin, and I'm wondering if there's some explanation of that in the book. Well, give them some credit. Well, they have it. They just don't know what to do with it now. No. Yeah, they're definitely hacking stuff up here. They were duped, bamboozled, smeckledorfed. Yeah, they just... Katzenberg thinking like, well, these scenes with the witch, the scenes with the witch, like, the witches, the scene with the witches, we gotta keep the whole thing. But when it comes to important character moments, cut that. The movie's running too long. Gee, maybe you could cut down some other shit instead. Or better yet, just make the movie 2 hours long. You know, nobody cares. We've been ambushed. Ooh. And here he is again. The threat. The menace. Good lord. That is such a good design. More blood. I can definitely see a version where we saw the blood initially spew and that part got cut. As if this already isn't graphic enough. And then the green smoke. Well, look who's back. Back again. They're definitely doing a lot with the effects here, I'd say. This is, in a manner of speaking, Lord of the Rings would like to have a word with you. Oof. Oof. I mean... Oh, God. Man, those corpses are fucked up. Good lord, no. Taran? Oof. Oh. Oh, God. Oh, God. And just as soon as the army of the damned came shambling about, they were undone, like, immediately. Hold on there, Taran. Hold it. Ooh. Oh boy. And rip the very flesh off of him. Ooh boy. Huh. Both of his eyeballs.
Is there a Disney villain death more gruesome than that?
No. Not on screen, at least. Like that. By all accounts. As far as Disney deaths go, it's probably the most gruesome on-screen ripping of a person's flesh off. We saw the flesh tear off of his very bones. Don't worry, just follow the flashing. It's just like Dragon's Lair. Dragon's Lair 5. This again. Ooh, that's a very nicely animated boat. I didn't even think they're rotoscoping it or anything. I think they're just straight up, Terrence steps up. God damn. Splish splash. Man. You know, before I would have said it's a bit of a fixer-upper, but now it's, well, they said it was daft to build a castle in the middle of a lake, but I built it all the same, just to show them. It fell into the lake.
I mean, think about it. This death was kind of slow compared to some.
Exactly, honey. Like, we really get to sit with the flesh being torn off of his hands. We really get to sit with that for quite a bit. Honestly, that in and of itself is a testament to what we're looking at here. Man, she really wanted that sword, the witch on the right, really. I sure hope that won't eventually come to bite them in the ass. Actually, considering they only made the one movie, it probably won't come back to bite them in the ass. Well, yeah, Blueheart, Taran lived through his dream, but he turned out to be a total fucking nightmare. Being a warrior isn't really what he wants. And by the time of the fourth Shrek film, I'm sure the voice actress actually was sufficiently old enough to just sound like that, though. Which is definitely an interesting way to see it. See it go about. Oh. You know, I do feel bad. But the fucker's voice is still annoying as shit. And then I'll give you guys my recasting choice, like, as soon as the movie's over. No. Honestly, Scribe, for me, it's just his voice. Gurgi is not a bad character. He's a great design, but his voice is obnoxious. That's about it. It took him a whole movie to get to that. Gurgi is a shipper squad. What? Why is everything shipping with you? What a merry band of misfits. I guess the fairies did return Hedwig home. Oh, there's Dolly again. Produced in association with Silver Screen Partners 2. Directed by Ted Berman and Richard Rich. Hey! Hey, honey, there's Richard Rich. Producer Joe Hale. Hey, you know what? We're able to, That is true, writer. No, the end credit. Ron Miller is executive producer. That's the name. It's Ron Miller. I'm thinking. Based on the Chronicles of Preden Tales. Story adapted by, 9 people. Never a good sign. I mean, 2 of them are the directors, but still. Elmer Bernstein as the music. Grant Bardsley is Susan Sheridan. Oh. Freddie Jones. There's an actor named Freddie Jones. Rest in peace, Susan Sheridan. Yeah. Phil Fondarco. The Henchman. Wayne Alwyn, yeah. John Hurt as the Horned King. Yes, such a big name actor gets an "and" credit because Disney was about, finding Andreas Deja. That's the guy. That is the gay man responsible. Ray Disney did additional voice work. Nice. But Andreas Deja is the gay man responsible for fucking Jafar. And actually a lot of the, he's responsible for the animation on Jafar and Scar. We're going to see a lot more of Andreas Deja's name in the effects animators, Barry Cook. And I wonder how many of these poor animators had a lot of their work cut from the movie simply because Katzenberg got scissor happy. Layout styling, layout in general, color styling, backgrounds. Now, backgrounds is definitely something you want, like, 6 people on. Definitely. Character design, Andreas Deja. I can see that. Yeah, definitely.
I admittedly would have liked to have seen the PG-13 version. Same, honey. Like, the uncut... Don Hahn! Don Hahn. He's a director in some of the 90s films, I'm pretty sure. Assistant directors. More directors. Sound designers. Like, is that really what I sound like to you? No, it's just... No, it's just I want to differentiate when I'm reading what you're saying as opposed to just me talking normally. That's all. This isn't how you sound to me. Release the uncut version. Hell yeah, Scribe. I mean, if Disney thought... Yeah, Tony Anselmo, Jane Bear, Dorothy Baker, Manalotta.
No, honey, you sound a lot cuter than the voice I'm doing right now. Esther Barr. Any relation to Kathleen Barr, I wonder. Anyway, I always think people with similar last names in the end credits are related in some capacity. Kathleen Barr. Kathleen Barr would be the voice of Trixie and Queen Chrysalis. So, not sure. The paint lab, the scene planning. Love is imitating her girlfriend's voice to speak for her when she's thrown out.
Rest in peace, Suzanne Sheridan. Roy E. Disney did it. Oh, wait, no, I already read that part. Now the question is why I watched this so much as a kid. Maybe I just like the idea of seemingly regular people defeating evil and they don't need to fight an army to do it.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, they didn't really need to fight the army to do it. Like, that was, they just kind of won. They just kind of kicked ass. They came in, they kicked ass, and they also resurrected their once living and still very obnoxiously voiced friend. All right, now that movie, honestly, I did not give it nearly enough credit the first time I saw it. But, I was probably too young to get it, and being someone who is much more aware of the movie-making process and actually knowing that horrible, horrible edits were made to this film, that, oh, well, now I suddenly see where the missing bits are. And I can understand, oh, so now I understand the context, and a better version of this movie exists, so the pieces that we get of it are pieces of a good movie. But Disney, and consequently Katzenberg, chickened out of making it truly as great as it could have been. As horrifying, bloody, and messy as it truly could have been.
Princess Eloise deserves to be in the Disney princess lineup.
You know what? She fucking does. She really does. And you know what? Taron did learn his lesson. He really did. I think his arc is the one that's most complete. Now, I just found it really funny that Fred Jones is in the credits when we mentioned Frank Welker earlier, because Frank Welker plays a character named Fred Jones in the original Scooby-Doo. So I thought that was like, hey, wait a minute, that's not the Fred Jones I'm thinking of. Squad really likes the overall idea of the film. Could have benefited from not having so many cuts and changing Gurgi's voice. Zola from the MCU, Claudius Templeman, Hunger Games. Okay. Blueheart says, I loved this as a kid, but as I grew older, I learned things and see a lot of its flaws. It doesn't make it bad, but I see the potential that was scrapped away due to one paranoid executive. That's honestly how I'm walking away from this movie, with one change. Now, everyone here, and DF also says, yeah, pretty much agreeing with everything here. Yeah, basically, the movie was cut to shit. And we can see the glimpses. We can see the glimpses into a better movie. But ultimately, 'twas not to be because of Katzenberg's stupidity. That was a nice little rhyme there. But, for all intents and purposes, I do have a perfect recasting for Gurgi. It's high-pitched, it's childlike, but it's not obnoxiously ear-grating like, oh, Gurgi, the bastards, it's feedings. It's like, that's really annoying. Something my honey says before this. I do kind of get moving the intro to the Horn King. It wouldn't have fit after the fairy scene. I suppose that's fair. I suppose that is fair. Maybe you're probably right, because we would have already met the Horn King up to that point. I don't know. I feel like the reason they would have kept it there is because it's just another moment of having this creepy presence being mentioned at a time where he might have been forgotten. We get the foreboding of the big bad. Yeah, get it up front in the film, and then people are terrified and they know exactly why. Anyway, but yeah, John Hurt did such a good job as that character. So good. But no, so we're all there's more of a grand epic in the books. I definitely, you're probably right. This movie was definitely a little more of a simple fantasy adventure. Honestly, it does, in its own way, deserve to stand up there with the other 80s dark fantasy movies, as should be called. Like Willow, or the Dark Crystal, or Labyrinth. It really deserves to be right up there with those films. But now, before I get distracted again, 80s, such a bizarre time for movies. It really was. Back to the Future, Roger Rabbit, this. The 80s was just kind of insane. But as for my recast, we're all Disney freaks here. At least I know my honey bunny and I here are Disney freaks. So go back to the original version of Epcot and the original version of Journey into Imagination with Figment. And the voice that we hear, I prefer Disney fanatic. Of course, honey. Anyway, we're all a bunch of Disney fanatics here. But yeah, going back to Epcot, going back to the original Journey into Imagination. And the voice that we know of Figment now is basically Dave Goelz, the voice of Gonzo, doing his best impression of the original voice. He's like, yeah, I know all about the senses. There's sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. Tastes like chicken. Can I go? Please, please, please. But the original voice, and he was also a little dwarf character in the live-action He-Man movie that was also an 80s film, if I'm correct. It was Billy Barty. Oh, Dreamfinder, I'm just right. Well, Figment, some new friends have joined us. Can they imagine too? And give that voice to Gurgi. Oh, Gurgi deserves poor Gurgi deserves poor smashings and beatings. He doesn't deserve munchies and crunchies. Think about that. I think that probably would have been a lot less obnoxious than, oh, Gurgi. It just sounds like someone is drowning and choking at the same time in this movie. I'm sorry. If they wanted him to sound like a little dog man, then Get Bill Farmer to do it. Get Bill Farmer to go in, and go like, oh, yeah, Gurgy, I know, yeah. Because he looks like a little dog man. Honestly, I think he deserves a little dog man voice, not a choking, drowning cat duck. I'm sorry, but I can't find a good description for this little bastard's voice. It's just, God. And the thing is, we can't go redub the film with Billy Barty, God rest his soul. And God forbid anyone were to use AI to bring him back. But you know, hey, maybe I'll go in and do a Billy Barty treatment of Gurgy, you know. Actually, maybe there should be like a fan recreation, like with the recobbled cut. There should be a fan recreation of this movie. Underground, underboard, dark web, so that Disney doesn't, you know, take it down or anything like that. And a real fan recreation. We just redub Gurgy's voice and bring back all the freakiest shit scenes. Exactly, Blue Heart. Animators assemble! I need to read the books. I made the mistake of reading the second book, not realizing that it was the second book. Hey, that happens to the best of us. But yeah, no, that was The Black Cauldron. Honestly, I think I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought it would, just based on my first impressions of it. So, yeah, definitely flawed, but there is a good movie in there. 'Cause the second book is called The Black Cauldron. Yeah, Disney has a habit of doing that. I mean, Alice in Wonderland took bits from both Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, kind of just fudged them together. So, you know, Disney has a habit of, you know, kind of mashing things up. And the movie does feel like it's just missing bits, but you know, yes, Blue Heart, an underrated gem. I do see now, as I am older and wiser and more within the sphere of knowing how films are made, and particularly animated films, I can see the scraps of film that were cut. Like, cause the film feels like a full meal. Like, the film that we got does feel like it was finished, but it also feels like the waiter, Jeffrey Katzenberg being the waiter, took a few bites out of my meal before giving it to me. And it's like, I can see where you took bites out of this. Bastard, you're not getting a tip. So, I mean, I think I'm coming up with some weird analogies. Drowning cat duck and waiters eating taking random bites out of your meal. Honestly, I'm on the weird analogies right now, but oh god. Anyway, but that's gonna be it. Next week will be the Great Mouse Detective, and hopefully my darling's voice will have returned by then. But The Great Mouse Detective is a film that I have infinitely grown up with and love to death, so I'll have nothing but praise for the next movie. Like, instead of discovery, I'm gonna have, instead of discovering the film all over again, I'm gonna be like, okay, this is what I love, this animation is great, we're gonna get, like, into proper commentary territory. Ha! Speaking of underrated villains, yes, honey. Okay, but we'll hold off on that until next time. But thank you all so much for joining us. If you're viewing this and watching along after the fact, thanks for watching, and until next time, remember to take care, stay safe, and be kind in all that you do. Good night, everybody!